Creator, may your spirit and guidance be in us as we work for the benefit of all our people, for peace and justice in our land, and for the constant recognition of the dignity and aspirations of those whom we serve. Amen.
Minister's statement. The pandemic just 2020. The nuts a priority is Jatata Nidersi. During the Jatata Nunan get Jankar to Tatano is in there. The highest number in lead at Johns, Kanisela Hooter seat Canada Gayasi. A unit Hawatalai Town was a partner GNWT department, so it authorities, hiring law, Dëne Sųłıné government I use of the adultation. We protect NWT and is Dëne Halgala not a 811 phone lines to self isolation plan or a unit at Dëne Halgatalena see. A outbreak honey there in Lessie. A backlog in low had to a phone. A team protect NWT who said the Rotalena a the two John self isolation plan you had to done help Bagalena that the two hot on city the answer zoom ye there there you all to done a yard had to Halgalata. John August Honey's just secretary at sea had to John. A year you done had to John. Then halal net at the isolation centers dollar see with a hiring law. Ye had to collect on Getty heard nearly than a god new had to see how the NWT House and Health and Social Service than halgalate they eat in city. A hiring law in Chile see the isolation support had to Kuzet Sanats as their high. The space had to the Unta Taneta Tia. The isolation had to Galena. He had done a panunt on sea that do a tata than needs of the Uchaha and a hiring law. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 coordinated secretary see a loot and a Halalena that some border checks say, that that owned a sea you done Halanut done not and a crinty sea channel. It's on none gets on either do self isolation seat the done Halala. A compliance enforcement officers thought last see the hiring law community government a unit a jatata hiring law is in there. A unit the frontline got the line out of don't AC the unit and hot new the public health order sponsor. The two and Halahill DC. Here you done Halnaya Q Hade. Eat Son Jaha. Eat a hiring on a Chile. Eat a Taktiak the compliance officer. A year Kuzet and Halalena the public health order Siha. A hiring law Kuniza than Halgatalena. Eat a community members. Eat a the answer that the needs of the Chaha to the Halgalena. Either to the Honal Tano had they see that Ponzai had there. Either to John Nethernill in see that Ya Chadaha. Either got when they really in what they see the either Tanto Corsi, the home they John Nangaya. You don't have to see the pandemic. Say, you had to that pause to be galata. You do the secretary see. It tata pause that to Sualena see had end. You do 811 call center. You there hot on it. I that do don't out on a seal compliance in fire officer city I dan helgale now had it ma had it that answer needed ha I dan sun out ha the do this allow I that do sun not other had to see ha that I that do John I that do policy had la see I GNWTC the I that do service see do health on it the optional TC I John dan Sunday I that bonze Northern Sea on hat deal that the two John Tata Halaita say. We were needle there. I John Tata no is in their seats and is on it till that John March John 2020. A banal I door out is a public health orders done what's at DC had to get telling her. A public health a kept balance. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Do much on a carride. John, Tata, no one is in there, John. Tata, the Tiantanas non get John. A John Tata, who received nine Kehur Nilo. A ronla to a cigarette real sada. Eat the two John Tata don't they see ye had there. That no coral. A year that John June see. Emerging wisely, Hulya 2021 roadmap. Let the Aldin day a two tanto core see. A year that two John the get when they ha. John early summer, John 2020. A self isolation requirement, John Sodnan Gayaha. A year that two John done scored it, they did get only. I got Dëne Sųłıné Yatıé that the hiring lots of government Allah hello John territorial regional the hiring law see. You must thought that I had to John hiring law vaccine clinics that 81% NWT population not cause they'll be guides and neither a had done scored. A third doses the booster shots a resident get down they'll be guides out. Don't see news or Canada had each on a you none gets on a Delta variant Hulya Tata and is into the COVID-19. A August it Canada Tilo had data Johnson and Gaya a COVID-19 dot join later. A no South African de Tata de do don't cat on AC. The federal government seat on the sea there. It's a two regions see a large scale Tata and is in there later. A special con what you yell knife Dillon, Data, Hay River, Cutler, Desche First Nation, a Tata and is. The chief public officer see the restrictions and law that not is not tell had they see. That do public health recommended on ethnic you. It on the case will call the hiring law see. The measures of ya see the Capur Nilacule had the Kulejan hiring law not the deal the Galteo Dunlin see. Either do orders of ya had to be gate deal. The healthcare system city in the zone law to a ronla do than halal no testing hours. Either do staff put and bottle and see hiring law see. Contact and is in the day connect. You get it and the Garno bottle and Nilo had the federal government see the Canadian Red Cross and Sydney. The outbreak see. A connect John tuck in Nubik data in there. Testing. Canada see the saw the mill on the handy. The emerging wildly 20 a doing brush on that. Chief Public Health Officer see a case council taught it. John Yunzen the COVID and is either teacher NWT the kind of the tilda. The detection seat COVID the do John. Northern had to program at homes to quit net in seal. You need up on either. The do hunt to queen is that on either the hard to be gorgeous on her this quant a the program see John so toss they'll have to schools at the Halgalata, Bagula Cho, Beshakon, Hayriper, Nubek, Dillon, and Data. A school see that's a quid. Not data, had a Hahalja later, outbreak a charter. Solly Mill on Tesla later, John, November 16th, and the families don't have to eat at the health program, but Talena. Either to hunt at neither they eat British all that they had to chant. Ta had the elementary school in New York City had to eat a school to Bostonal Neha. I eat a detection NWT program, see nearby Bonizer. Either do business organization Tala see antigen testal Neha. I eat in Hora to the Tata Hatal Neha. I high risk settings suit Catalina see a habit in the churla data. I do social activity. I done a hell Catalina. Diona business see. I done program what I know that. I don't connect Southern seat COVID see. Do it charter. A NWT White Manager Face Master, the Nigel Truth. A gathering orders, a doing guys, they have hunt, they have. Hundreds of Tilsi. Business done the organization. It's no national lot than I. Anza ha aile yiza. A bit anza des lona. A business done loves you. A public health hat need a hotel near the head now. A measure C. A applications had proof a vaccination C that do the Galena C. A residence you had to Chalateo had each on. You have the scoring 340 requests a year later a vaccination program aliada. Tata Chasi Johnson, then get sit that do public health orders see. Either do outbreak see. Either hurd nilida. Either healthcare professional John no Patalena see Johnson, then get either do COVID, they tata panza to Catalina. Either healthcare system Boston see that. Either COVID up done a bar. Not on a holiday. Either Robatalena city a using a unit at Dunlani, a nurse, doctors, technicians, administrators, healthcare workers, Johnson, then get who let a Catalena, no Tata no needs a dish, Jaha. Nuni resident titling seat that I know that this year to be telling on Nuikuha. Get the other by all the say. Get has all that got the COVID-19 booster shot both all. A immune system the other insured had to Tata Jaha. Federal government seek on a Pfizer BioNTech vaccine to queer, some lava on that he could do let to eat that. Doing simple neither. A school had to contact on either there, John Churla. Had that to queen a chill at the Taikor. Eat a Tata Jaha. Eat a Tata than quantum is a dear Jaha. Eat a Duja COVID to Quihala like that, see. Eat not less quansi. Ye had to less quantar yaw. John Nangaya. Ye chant the Duja notes a health system CD. Either do
Minister statement, member statements. Member from Cam Lake. Could you see a tuna you had on DTC government or all now? That what the state you. Do you seen it? You know, the authenticator. Do that order about that says the city service out yet or see it to not see. Do you better order to it on link a yard or it says it due to Kaya see a sweet deal. Do it it's on link a yard seat in a barn. There's only there on to social program services do the business do had to see. Could the 2018 getting question 400 businesses. Are you bet on that try hello do northern businesses? I saw about see the hat or la that conha. Could you see the fire redundancy any law? Could you do receipt that or digital agent you like this? Do you that on the need the receipt to but ask people going all the job? I thought the public health would safety or you because you do you bullish this chase city how you in the ball now the fiber line hello? Could you how you par over jar fasting it and bullish this chase some part the key door had it. The education had to see. Could 2019 see the GNW2 to support that's in the city of fiber line SCH December 21st, 2021. Could the corner so large seen at the Bacalata say sorry little. Had I need to the public funding who curl to fiber line had to aggressively. I memorandum at least to you can now had to fiber optic. There's no concurrent laws like ARC to aggressively ignore. Could the fiber need to be better business zone the zone for reso for smedo hack chill for providence so Bejakon what you deload and bully this chair. Could there be sample take all the hello to the Balata Hale? Do we have need a zone at the Hayons and Inca Yaha? Do you have a business city because the hard business but easy how zone? Member from Sabacha. Could you have an ask easy because they're jolly? Do you wait about chargers take a? Are you say Banek kilo the repetition is so long not the answer Bazini Hilla? Are you call this it about charging? Are you Bazina? Are you secretary near that ought to buy a skizzy? Do you take a seat that is in a year? Do you have sees about her need to see? Could not say government see? Do we see Nina got on you in other? Could you catch out and behave to read? Are you set a letter that all? Do you Northwestern Airlines Department of Infrastructure? Could join the Parliament in what member see? Could not say government see a high federal government take out that really detail. Are you Fort Smith? Are you about to take care of see Bagalataha? Are you had all your letter? Could you transfer conduct, you know, TP312? Had that you just I guess and all you have see. Could you Canada regulations into aviation? Are you just I guess that was it NNETC that you in Canada Kaya? Could transport Canada see federal government Bagalana? Do you see it don't know you have on to aviation that I that or that I get all last year? How you that I guess it you can go to answer you is hate Do you know the government see you can call in the hard? Could you wait about charge that I guess it? Are you that I can the 2 60 meters? Are you light there in all you? Had I that I can answer in the toilet and all over the door? Are you seeing all you had the keys is not you? That's no boss, Mr. Speaker. Kuti utagara te hel hati luti lo wet hepa chaten. Ay tet ay ket at esi hatuna yala. Kusi ta se esi. Do not in a baht illola. Government at either hel han yilut eo. Do tet ay ke basino yaha. Hatta do not say government sin not tet ay ke sanala dat on zo halisi. Do that to atalita si do in zo ni til hatola. Hey River South. Could you say quito DC to be pasa? I beget adile le wa hakra check on high. Could you passi to habaket nice at least constant until hatolo to be paspeti. Had the Minister of Education see you connect ha. The DA hakra checks, you know, I habaket Could you DA hakra checks and political at a head nilo? Could you yakalian city to be sequi hanazulo the auto sequitur easy? The guard the hell hat till hell. Could you hack or chase in DAC? A samba bets in Lutilo? Could you say Kuskuna Tisika or Jala? Some part of garbage as a dealer to be puzzle. Best City was a quitter, is at least constant. DEA to DEC to a Sukuha bus through Kuta. You have to Yakia to Kinazunit or could you sampa Nunila to is a quitter. A bus I ate in a bonny Sukuha yet other till allo. DEA Yakia Tio. You cancel all you had all a bus. DA to DEC to 400,000. On it, but our bus, but not yeah. Do you have orange check? You had yes or no? What on your hand that on cheese you had yes, Nilo? Could you bus you can is on about the heart? Are you DA bet young call? Are you Department of Infrastructure that you can call it Nalilo? Do you bossy but are there is a quiz? Please constant. Nice quib, a betting, nice quiz. At least constant till I had to beat Alila. Do you hire out or DDA at or Yahoo till Harris in the Massy, Mr. Speaker? No, not put. Could there be a seat where Kizzy with as a Stacy Sink a ya banas Kizzy? Could you think a ya seat with Hula seat a kin in Rolo to Clesu fuel? Could you Clesi fuel see but on the coins who need a fuel breach error? Could we connect a start charter fuel in Charter kit in Rolo? Do you think KC fuel the government do it something ASC September 27, 2021? Gas do Eugene WT where Paul Tuggle Sax Harbor $94, $95, $93. Do we Jalo do we access with KC? I would have check out all that the words and then I had to could do 17 cents cheaper later work Sax Harbor class. Machines. Are you but our Nazis the Dilu what just at the Dilu Nika say Dilu a Bacon sell her. Had to read gas start charter to you, but out in the barn is only the night and when not put not deal. Got dinner John see the Kirula no Ninka. Do we at something a see the Kinel need or the work cannot and ay na nakputin ay government yele a could you feel it or kisio ay that is a minister Mr. Her Yelnef North could you cam league to be fiber or not kisi ba sassi could you data needed to you see computer no zero do you but all of the internet see could to han contact on call do you fiber line between connect to the internet to the حتى سابق هالدي ليتي وحنا نظن شلتها كنت رسالتين دي إنترنت تدير تكينا سامباسان قاضي دولة دي إنترنت تدير ساتينها حتى جانديت إيزي جاب نزون هادي تيلو دي إنترنت هاب كنت نيتينغ وسامبا بكنيت أوي تك تو يك تك نيتيها دي إنترنت Northwest held you what the church with the Sagale Nalo to Kununi peace visit, Sununi secret, John the fell cover some big crooked John. I Minister of Finance press current that is it. You are Sadu Telo, you are Saluta to fiber winitiha, fiber optic. Great slave. Mr. Speaker, Nini Sanos and your Satra card, Dilti Jahayo, Netio. Kunit in Jakasa Diltiu, Anastasen, you know. Hat all the Hatchalega. Where are you into it? That's cute. I'm a Wallace Nazi. Do that or staffed in a bowling look you what a Yakwa. Could the health minister burst curse so that or Janitilla. Could you better is low? Do you set or see ya on the word nurse no bottle Nazi got on you to look in there? Put up on window loja. I minister to. I had over here. I lay Henry to the minister to. I OBS words you turn Q. I beskulat over green yan la that he on the low. Do we not carry Cooper na tilo? I you the Sibetar Aussie Behlia Aditino. Where health care at all Nazi set at Eki. Service Halala, you will see Lia Hedilo. I lot of try hate the data on New Zealand. I papa on the deal with British to cool hate $100 Aussie last on beds in the nurse. I could do corners and siege on Sonic. Could do what could not need see that air do it. I had on a barata Nazi because a quaski is a heathen. Do we were you Nature young Hong Kong the Hallin say you think Disney Tilo. I heard at the heart no battles the Lotilo. What are two windows in the civic elite heart? I sit that was easy with on a battle Nazi. Johnson Linke yo. What are the I Minister was current that is a Yakisant idea that is a
The Minister of Education has said, John, the government of Northwest, John, had to John, Dan Halalas now, Sinye. The project that Dan Pator Ada, Chipewyan School, Solona, I Anza Halin Lida. 1972 yi da tibdahar time leda. Yi da antnedo had is cheap Bruno. Yi da hiring law recurring leda cheap Bruno. Jimmy Bruno. Yi had to eat a queer at least quantanal yi jaw had to noni ein leda. Government of Canada yin lai leda. Edzo yi school la. 15 kilometers special quantan yet. Jin halt to a queer at least quantanal yi basa. Yi school bus between us kids out at least competent kuchen. Mr. Speaker, Chief Bruno School, Edzo all day. Otitan hats a tilo hal yain leda. Ayita, Tanahana Zuni, Zanahat will yain leda. Government of the Northwest Territory, Clinton government, Chuatala in Ada, Lila Dane leda. Ayibigurlia. You had a working group, the Oti Hanuzerla. The leadership see. He had a thing. He school go out in the Pashokwan. He did that to quit on a day, you're at least call there. He see the Aunt Nedo. He done a Bayatu had this here. He the culture had to John. He at least cannot say had to not done is had to nourish ya to. He school city, but he the skills had to between Clinton region see. He the do business dollar see it up there. He the apprenticeship see the door order. Lottie sell in the had to call. He the trade programmer, Aurora College had to the carpenter, electrical, mechanical, plumbing. He had to eat on a ball last see. He but or order you, but in all tier. He the minister education, culture, and employment. Let is the bursker. The critical mineral is Hampala Tasi. The gas, electric vehicles, what it all see. Night do the electric. Canada NWTC. The critical minerals a see. The had to workshop Hununt Einled November 9, 2021 had to 19. The virtual workshop. Hashan get hona lit and not tell. Mines had it done. The civil society, the organization, the Naha Yaligela. The Tampa not here. March 2021 had to the mineral sea that Nuni Tanis asked one none get that. Talacho Niko the NWTC EST environment, social and government factors. Do the Hati Sampania held yes here competitionary on a thought. Either do a thought the LQ, either do a seat banan you. The economic development see Hati. The greenhouse gas emission see. In a chalacho, the haunted it only that do only see. The mine held never told John the Nizilo had a stakeholders Stanley had to John the LTC. The Tanhats at you. The do rights of indigenous people departed. It's a quid now about you. The NWT. Either do some panic city party. Either had to workshop report on Lilato. The minister tourism. You let these are Mr. Speaker, the needs of 19 lessons. You thought that campaign is in the healthcare providers that thought like that. June 3rd, Mr. Speaker, nurses corridor John healthcare system see nurse data. The hiring law see the done yalins gala nailo nurse done ya kwanzi to quit that you that's a quit halgala tao hiring law see nurse but data a nursing shortage that John Onanga. Yeah, you want to see that too. Nurse between high. Thought as it. You John Totan one is there. Yeah, you tilt it. Yeah, some water line out. Don't know that they had to turn your quang line out. Say, time off early in the ship to the time off what I left. I that do healthcare system see between high. May 29. I that do healthcare hiring practices. You Minister of Finance, HR questions, hell. Do not care. Do bonus tina do. I eat a minister see who needs to. I eat some paternity helene, because chenla. I eat a nurses the auntie no chazatelo, non the saral tio. I eat a young the cruise no, but only lada. John Northwest Territories. Don't seal jailed out, but only lada. A Raymond Dëne Süüłıné November 17, 1955, August 21st, 21 Hule. A thaw and low. Get hona solana, get horse and lava and le. A thaw the sequit at Denise, the cheese Dëne Yatıé bomb. A year Junson, the cross zero, a gala now, had a culpus can run at time. It's a queue, what is it? Done as only later, you bansutio, who let gala now. A unique on a time later. Either two chant and a chanik, a color to nalze. A yalding hully, I'll be transverting. A bit on the that. A penoni had a Raymond. But a family, but send you. The two memories. That's thought of an old Niha. You know, hiring law, see, you know, Marcia Lucien, Father McLean, the two John, heard the loser, see, Fort Simpson medical staff, you know, the Halala now, see. Oral questions, member for Tabacha. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. You Minister C. The Department of Transport Canada C. PT 12. The do recommendation practiced all la C. Plan thought I had to Tabacha airport the dual ne C. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. The airport sea infrastructure you're gonna talk it, lads. The transport aerodrome standards, the recommendation, yeah. The do airport infrastructure you're gonna talk it, lads. I'll yell. You can't do with that in Siha. Department C. Application that you had to lighting replacement cell near, you know. Either do the airport on the see. Either but in all TC. Either new standards September 2015 at Dungulia. Northwest Territorial Air Lease First Aero. The National Defense Northern Air Transportation. 10 months begun at Conde. Either do John, Nataral ne, airport see. Either do federal regulation, the Alton had to you get tele. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. You minister see. You the transportation, you bon sanad see that should I get all la see Nataral yao. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Airport hall, yeah, airdome standards, had to. You had the project with Galata. The ministers, you thought it somehow, can I see, don't it, airport na tool, they see. You thought to online, see. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. One way, see. The snow clearance, so. Runway, though. The outside runway service, let they say. $10 million. We cannot, aha. Mister. That decision, huh, see. Too late to do in Lila City. The additional net. Let Twilo. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. The decision, see. 16 meters till ne see. The two investment see. The relocate now had they see the airfield lighting system see ha. The public funds who had they see. But in all Tila. The department infrastructure had the highly to the proven see. The maintain now had the Galanaha. The maintenance costs. The valuable funding had to have see ha. Had to don't pick a galata had either to John Portsmouth Airport pick a galata.
Oral questions.
Could you hasi lesi to GWT? The fiber line see to windows for told the economies get on the milk was your the fiber line. Could you need to press release it? The minister was cruel, some of us cruel. Car was cruel, our ministers in finance, some of the other. The minister of finance, the day show, not was tell you held the task at you held your key. Must see. Minister responsible for finance, some of the other. Are you got to the heat here? But all he thought after that. Hatta du henne kisi som pasat elile so. Du ni til han I halt relation de gatte med gørselle. Hat og jeg kusi til hete la gørshan du parties. Hatta du et sånn ke jeg har du in zone. Kunne jeg gaven på bare har du hat og den se de her. Nanak put. Ku gasoline to diesel to take key door was at the station but on the Lord I in a could do the government see. Could do got oil and you know what I heard that on cheese a lot we cannot in. Could you don't with few next new or something. I that the future you see on the queue call actually. Hatta esagale na hele de ka oil we sax harbo uli hak taku ti paltak. Could be petroleum classy. How you think a yard here? It's on only hat ele. When you heard that on Chile, but gas the Dachau, the 41 cents a liters nilo. It was thought high who. The 42 cents Aussie. Are you furnace really other Aussie a yuli Dachau? Well, you can't get a. There is 50% now nilo near each other. Hatta the government you think all the road yet or says key at easy. I didn't near a done yellow. The Tonic a city, another city we knew a union of Pahuni lot. $1.94 lower Uluhataku Sax Harbor. $1.95. Paula talk $1.34 low. There 50 cents on the low hayo where Willis Chili. So long as soon as on the low. Cool was an instant then done Narsasi. Then hayo government lata cornilla. Such order it bite the out. Could the MTSC? I can't be seen to be somewhat silent. GNWT think other. Could you have your contracts HTC? I have your somewhat health and say in Lilo. Could you be a car that don't choose to see what can nothing that I can need to I got all your subsidized. Net in Lilo, I minister Haley Hatulo. The fuel prices seek out only the island. The hadn't had only the that or Yakis last year program. Could the says none neither? Are you wholesalers in? Are you with less kennel you see? Do you hand out on cheese in? Do you not get contractors though? I thought I see class fuel. Couldn't you fuel they needed the key door the suppliers are. The fuel Dëne Sųłıné Yatıé Yalu. The neck could the MTS hello? Could you sign a Clinton near that? Bulk fuel, and you see Clinton are not near that. Minister other infrastructure. I see because Shani I get a gar because Shana a hallucini. Ai de kila ha di funeral nisi. Kusana ni dola. Hati funeral ni da I ka want in lo. Kui bog no nia. Ai ni isat ilo di minister. Ai ka Q. Kui hain la zin ar klesan chisi. Ai sa ba klisa chine sa klesa chuda. Ai insist ni da ai hasla tori le Mr. Speaker masi. Hey River South. Could do it to car burst correlated to COVID vaccination. I that o yaki lazi. Then a bottle now could then have correlate on kina. GNWT ball now. I thought the infrastructure minister super correct. I minister hati hatolo to it easy. To return to that o yaki lasi to be some kina in her course to be lot then all young contractors o. To what's a card is the kina lisi. I ha. Could you it I that okay ben VTC to be on the bottom lasi to be GWTC it's a card lasi. I regulated could you transport Canada that way yaki in see a big is let anila. I vessels in DC to be I not care the on it and you can't tell nada I can the hot or up. Could you GWTC then weekly so GWT that way yaki CC policy yagar tell ha. Could you that IKO kill to Mr. Hatia Tulo to federal to territorial to policy will you see the vaccination ha. Could you willis chat that IKO regional airport I hiring a done child, hiring a done cheese or about that era do you have to do then correlate with some kina vaccination. Could you federal vaccination see? The willis chat that IKO answer a yin in law. Do you give Ben with you to that or yaki selasi? Do you use that I get all lassie? Could you at all the tasses bahat elo to GNWT or yakini lassie? 2021 to 15, November 15. Do you use all the Nazi federal government so that I can be willing to vaccinate on Sankina Niku? Do you PPE really only ha? Are you Tessa Nurtzal? Are you transport Canada? Are you had a silly load to that or Yaki Selasi to that I get all lassie? Could you have you to hell high in Canada? How are not on Chile to hello to your indigenous government hello? Here, could you reach a car seat to 600 you see better auto la Johnson Yaha? Where her chlorus chill? Are you ballas now? Could you wait a car la see because da city let up off me la to be policies how do you see? Could you policy how do you know do COVID-19 do Yaki Salala Bagara? Are you at Sankina head course a labant ahara? Do we call union PSACU, SCYU, the Gill? November 30th, who I ain't think as Hankina head course. I take Harry Gall and the Ay zit ay keo li alza tala yi hat elo. Diwi 2021. 190% diwi hekore san kina vaccination. Koi e tanin ke yasi yi hat elo diwi Northern Workers 80 san kina hi ko a. Diwi 90% e sino diwi hayo hekore si san kina diwi vaccination. Kuti la sanu tsindoa. Masi. Kuti e tanin ke yasi ta hayo san kina hekore si. Kutendo ni ko na le ha vaccination. Ay bet a no ba huni la chaha. Ay dat o doch nasi hat o so hoteli hat lo. Minister hatti hatlo. Kuti atala nasi o da benwikli zu kuti we hat recha yu tsi kharwal da si baba. Kuti federal dat o yakke la si divi. Den sankina hekolle ay la bant aharila. Ay bet aten ba huni la le. Divi ta talat noni dersi bet aten patan zoin lo bet Allah ta khon lo ta to ta tasio. Kutendo ne kore ay ne zore. Ay ta na na tio. Ay bet ata to ta ta ni hat o ta ta halo. Divi data no ni zin derse. Divi vaccination si ni ketar ni lo bet ata ta ni le chaha. Master Speaker.
Sure.
Mercy, Mr. Speaker. HR's Minister. Hey, Stanton to tatu that tan halala that workplace survey. Hey, don't that do government hotline say. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Hey, the employment see the survey see. Nakke gai hal do hal enda. A collective bargaining to 18. A COVID-19 down nature. I do that that do tagalata see. Si kaniro. I missed another and less immigrants nearly kule. Sate kule. I was screenshot the saw. I had to job. I that do healthcare workers see Nange ya had to galata see. The survey see had to know that. I the staff what they see the in. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. I the minister the NLTC. A lot of action yeah. I the garden catalana say. I the holiday to what they see. I the pay up see had it. I the do John law in all two had they see that. The minister. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. I the public servant catalana. I do not the chance. I the level choose. I the anti staff in catalana see. I staff punct edele. I had it. I had it change to it. I had to call it Tanatana Changatalanada. I staff punct edele had to call it John only government seat, John Minister Green should nil into. I the Department of Finance. I had it on the Thursday see. I good results like that had to call it. I two the Halgaleta see had to Northwest Territories. Ayi hatu John graduate seat or college salgalata. Wow, slow down. Ayi tu. Ayi da Mr. Speaker. Ayi tu da taught in li hatu da banyas ti. Ayi da tu staffing hade si. Ayi da tu ayi tagalay na hatu al si. Ayi da need to do health line work hatu galata si ha. Ayi da hatu solution ul toilasa. Great slave, Mr. Speaker. Ayi da tu staff hade si. Ayi da response. Ayi da action hatu si. Thought of the part. Tatu ta katala na si tatu abetsana ni hada. Ayi da financial betsana ni si tim. Mr. Speaker, ayi tunta da ale ta chong tu ta. Ayi da public service si. Ayi da collective agreement to the two union help halala ta si. Ayi da two unions. Ayi khan tunu ta other policy hade si. Ayi da ayi beta khan ta na ta pani la le cha tu ti bekale ta de na. Ayi da jurisdiction ta healthcare staff hade du beke. Some part yung you can't on the issue that do some part la su hade de. Ya unil in the do ta. Ayi da message sheet ya ta no pagatala na si ta talitia hade. Along da su. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Ayi da highest cost of living that did it. Ayi da federal money da big. Ayi da frontline workers da COVID ha. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Ayi da COVID money si da federal money da no halin la si. Ayi da employee staffing halina. Ayi da do funding sa do tanagan ya. Ayi da isolation center cost su hade si. Ayi da pandemic. Yeah, so they updated that. The two shot of funding si sa do bekalata si. Ayi da lopana ti da sila do hadu down te si haite. Ayi Minister Industry and Investment si da. Ayi da critical minerals workshop si. Ayi da IT minister si. Ayi da public reporter lay how da workshops are. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Ayi da topic si don't thought guy on a critical minerals si. Ayi hutlat bana teachole. Don't have to college on some nanga. Ayi da workshop si hado. Ayi da reporter la si. Ayi da workshop on. Ayi the reporter said. a workshop report, a hurt report, a tan sana tel chole si hade kole, a thought had to Northwest Critical Action Plan. I thought what they done a hull not here. Merci, Mr. Speaker. I report see. I public city has a tier in Alberta, Canor, Kinchon government at Ancho, university standio. Do titles that are reported I see. Action plan halahat. John Northwest Territory see the do Galat Ali. You John Northwest Territory see at the middle. Merci, Mr. Two step to do engagement to Tanhalale Nasi. Critical mineral seed. Greener energy technology had to be all at the sea. A two pound last time I had to call some. Had to minor where John Nidil see. A thought all law yeah. You mine not as it John. Who needs the Panzala to Merci, Mr. Speaker. Government of Northwest Territories. Had to John Minul, you said, who needs the Panzalani, to John Calizo, Lands Natural Resources, ITIC. You want to talk that do John, that do not ask it at Sampala Tassi. You need the had to. John Northwest Territories Bikalataha. Climate change. Do John a unit of Bikalatasiha. Champalatao, Cobalt, lithium, Betinal Tira. Minister Marcielsi. A critical measure that John Nidil Panza. A subsidies who had to da. A two subsidies no da say that do critical minerals see because all that see. A toda la seha. Merci, Mr. Speaker. A major workshop that they say yet to no data. Do action plan because you done the real curl. Do chant on a real curl. The stakeholder see the do chant files. Do that oral curl that do la no da see the do chant private sector see the polluta. Do chant atana do la linsi. Merci, Mr. Speaker. A regular working group at Lendeda. Chipewyan school project of Galata. A minister see Hanola, Clinton leaders. A do a working group that do all in us hit and hollow. A Hilda toilet. Mercy. Mr. Speaker. The school, the Norgalata Sibitor Ada. The Aunt Nedo had in Galena, sit or Slis Galena. It's a queer, this Hatonal Tano. The Johnny Bonza. The community affairs, the Galata, Toilo had those special consi. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Hiring Lassie. Either do infrastructure, Galana Kit on the Santocle. You had actually either do not see, either do project not see, either held near. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. The white collar that it a unit that on a pilot. Johnson and Gay at Linchon. You had it done Honal Tunny here. The skills who had to know the hard no bagalite toilo. Utah had toilo seed cell near toilo, machines at Lel there to the Sagalata toilo. Had era. Minister see. A trades program dollar say. Employment out dollar say. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. The membership trades people at the see. The Northwest Territory see the Hadu Dagalata Siha. The trades program city had to be that's a quick this Quanateo had a Siha. The trades program Siha. The curriculum review. The modernizations needs the Hadu. Hadu John. The focus like that Hadu John program Dala Siha. Hadu John the do John. You members Halasian Toila. Do level C. Engagement C. Trades program C.
Final supplementary, member.
Cool Minister, you had to set a lot to your local business in a gold naha. Do we law bonds you had to tell her? Could do it in a baha, there is a quick goal to school nerd as you had to lot of corner school night either. Could the ECE ballet does it? You had to know Atali dollar. Do programs Julio? You had to say quick school, king, the school night either. Do you had to lot of written her? Could do career education counselors or well, $10 you had to say quick light, Ari, that all that I can rate in see her. Had that you be Atali dollar though. Minister Education burst for Harris. Could you hack or chair the pastor could listen about ACD only hot oil to handle Aha you near the sea that Oyaki Hasleo a seat as it chulo that Osin is all Darcy. Could you $400,000 DEA bound on see ECDC do you say quick please connect DC bassa? I learned this up all the radio. Could you see 180 lane do you little who could you bus her some Paulina ha? Are you cool some Pasan lane send out to be passa? Could do is a 30 million. Had there somebody on seat to be pass on the zone later. Could do DEA a tired 18 hatching $400,000 cool. Could some others see potential policy. I at least contact last it we had to secure 100 candidates and some Kali Hariki. Had to banking it alone. Had there see ministers in city DA or some pass well need aha to you net her see but at in her. Had the DAC some work in here had to hastala. Do we saw about on it to be bonnet easy? Could you say quick about well at least quantity this year the transportation had the Kalelo 1819 2019 2020 there is some about or $800,000. Could you surplus retention see? Are you coupling the later? Are you saying? Are you some basa halalo to be basa? Do we DAC some about that earlier? Do you budget high like the Yaki HTL the pasta to but that you September, October, November? Are you Korea to be Sampa Juliana? Sampa Juliana. Are you that about us a year at Ella? Could you see first or see to it a bus DAO? Could you bussy? Could you at on that this is a quick way content that this is is connected? Do you some about it on us is a series? Could you department? Do we bussing fees here betting her? How close change on how you on in ya? I had to help betting on your regulations are. Could do education activities you see on it here. Could you have regulation? How you see it on a yard, the hell hate that you at least cannot see DAO. Saintly like his seasonal. Had I see but on about her need to see how to bet the education and another. Could you say quick about how to had to do transportation? I had on this and do we let's see. Could you see that you had do we have to reach a bussy? Do we become a car all of the river DEA? Are you that or you can't ask it? Are you little could you hang low the river DEA? Do we policies hate to do you say could that was cool at this? Had that the minister Busker? Do we then see on a car Tennessee? Do we DEO? So could Bagale, Dagale, Nalatella? Do you say could you had at least on a TC to be pass? Could you see it to now yet? Let us see how that. Could do we become a car seat? Do we education system? Do you that all last? Do you that or DA latte consider that or DTO? A sunny till are you bellare or DC Catalina? Do you have to be a kiss a lager shine later? Had there to be operating do we have bus to be bus through Kusi, Sassibic and Galasnala? Had there to be a Hana Techaha, do we can zombie and Galasnala? DA Beheliq, chairperson Beheliq. could you hash $400,000 to the Ebert Allo? Are you bet at a unit or say to busing service? Must see. Could do reconciliation, but no ATO, hiring laws, not ATO. Could do Hagler Educational Council. Are you indigenous governments will yana Hagler Education Board hello? Are you United Nations Tanzania are you Hagler? Are you First National? Are you Barak as a council? Could you get us you lean the regulation city be passa? Sample isle ha kutendo. Could you First Nation city hill handy sat hill yaki satelo? Are you Hagler show? Do you wait about Charlie Hatelo? Are you Education Authority Hill? Do you govern education agalo section 86 at the law? Could you at least a share petition or do you see it on all yada? Do you Dëne Sůłıné Yatıé do 50% of all? Had I ever see a Hagler are you petition at see Dëne Sůłıné see that 50% also or had or see it on all yada law? Are you had Jara you baganani tia dolila? Are you hal ya dolila couldn't had Jara couldn't bagata halo? Are you see it on all yeha? Hayun sa atali taha hayun nizon in alitao DA hello organization zo hayun kisi tilala could you Minister Infrastructure di hati lo could you afford to buy chassis to or see Paul does it to take it? I didn't see her Lila Johnson Carto. Had only near to Carla. I had Sakala Halo was Ani. Could you sample Helasi to be infrastructure here? Could you first symptom you use it 8 later last how you are not all yellow? Could I call it a needle to be it 8 you are you bigger shiny at all? Are you had to do that, but the Kaya Sisus lady? Could you on Bazizi Bakai Lala Ila?
Oral questions, member for Thabacha. For Frame Lake.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. My questions for the Minister of Environment and Natural Resources. I want to follow up on some important facets for the proposed regional study for the Slave Geological Province. In June of this year, his department carried out extensive aerial surveys of caribou herds, including the Bathurst herd, and of course those surveys were delayed by a year. Can the Minister describe results of those surveys, and more specifically the results for the Bathurst herd? Merci, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member for Frame Lake. Minister responsible for ENR.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. This summer, UNR completed surveys to obtain updated population estimates for the 5 barren ground caribou herds, the Tuck Peninsula herd, Cape Bathurst herd, the Blue Nose East herd, and Blue Nose West herd and the Bathurst herd. Calving ground photos surveys were successfully completed in June for the Bathurst and the Blue Nose East herd, and a composition survey was done in October. The 2021 estimates for these two herds will be released shortly to all co-management partners and committee. In December, we are planning to meet with the Bathurst Caribou Advisory Committee and all interested Indigenous governments and organizations to discuss the new establishments and moving forward. So, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately I can't share it. We need to follow our process, and the process is work with our Indigenous partners first, then end committee, then make it public. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Oral questions. Member for Frame Lake.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. I don't fault the Minister in wanting to follow due process, but of course the Bathurst caribou herd is at a critically low point, but our government continues to steamroll ahead with plans for an all-weather road that would inevitably cause irreversible harm to the Bathurst herd. So can the Minister tell us whether our government is prepared to stop or pause the work on the Slave Geological Corridor until a regional study is completed? Merci, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Frame Lake. Minister responsible for ENR.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I explained in this House the GNWT can try to influence decisions. Regional studies unfortunately fall under the federal government's authority under the MVRMA, I believe that's what it is. Too many acronyms some days. The GNWT has not developed a position on the regional study. Cabinet will seek input from regular members on potential positions once input has been received from Indigenous governments. So we're more than willing to work together collaboratively with our Indigenous partners to come up with a position. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Oral questions. Member for Frame Lake.
Monsieur le Président, I want to thank the Minister for that. I'll try to give him a real gift here. All he has to say is yes. With regard, though, to the Slave Geological Province regional study, participant funding is going to be a central issue. And in the last assembly, my friend, the Honourable R.C. McLeod, said on March 2nd, 2016, we recognize the value of having our NWT residents participate in a lot of these processes, and I will commit to the member that I will continue to raise these issues with our federal counterparts. So my question to this minister is, does this government actually support the concept of participant funding, and is it prepared to push for participant funding as part of a regional study? Merci, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Frame Lake. Minister responsible for ENR.
I can tell you that the GNWT is talking to our Indigenous governments, the Nunavut government and the federal government in order to understand relevant views and interests about the GNWT's or the government's request and Teachel government's request. Any GNWT position will take into account the views of all parties and stakeholders, including MLAs. The GNWT has encouraged the federal government to consider federal funding opportunities, recognizing there should be a regional study move forward and significant federal finance support would be required, including participants funding. And you heard me yesterday, this here should be the federal government's responsibility because they are responsible for this very act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Final supplementary. Member for Frame Lake.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. I want to thank the Minister for that. I guess I'll take it one step back. Does this government actually support the concept of participant funding in general for environmental assessment? And I'm hoping the Minister is actually going to say yes. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Frame Lake. Minister responsible for Environment and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the only person that can speak for the government of the Northwest Territories is the Premier. What I can say, though, from ENR's perspective, yes, we want to work with our Indigenous governments. We need their input to move forward. It's very much about engaging in consultation with our Indigenous governments. So if he wants a government overall approach, he needs to ask that question to the Premier. But from ENR's perspective, we think participants need to work together. We need to get funding to work forward to address our issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Oral questions. Oral questions. Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are for the Minister of Health and Social Services. I appreciate her informing this House previously that we have a 26.3% vacancy rate in nursing positions, and this is a 10% increase since 2020. However, I was hoping the Minister could help me quantify what that means at Stanton specifically, where the OBS unit has closed. Can the Minister tell us currently how many positions are funded at Stanton Territorial Hospital and how many of them are not actually filled? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Yellowknife North. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. The staff component at Stanton Territorial Hospital is 466, and the vacancy rate was 13.1% as of June the 30th. And there are 61 positions that were actively being recruited for as of June the 30th. Those are the most recent statistics I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Oral questions. Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know there is a lot of efforts being done to make sure we fill those 61 positions, and I know that it's costly not to fill them. And I was hoping the Minister could inform us, with this latest closure of obstetrics, what is the estimated cost of sending all those patients to Edmonton to give birth, as opposed to if they were able to here in Yellowknife? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Yellowknife North. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have an answer for the member, but I want to say at the beginning that any recruiting efforts we are successful with right now will likely take a few weeks to implement, especially if the person needs to relocate to Yellowknife from another place. To the cost of sending the patients to Edmonton, it's our estimate that it will be approximately $12,500 for the patient and her escort to go to Edmonton and stay there for 28 days or 4 weeks. This cost includes flights, accommodation, transportation, and meals for the traveler and her escort. And those services may be augmented by the pregnant person's own employee benefit plans, if the person has those available to them, by the NIHB or by other employer benefits, depending on who they work for. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Oral questions. Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just doing some on-the-fly math, I believe there was 90 Yellowknife residents. I know there were some Nunavut residents who were also affected, but 90 times 12,500 is $1,125,000. Can I just get a clarification on that 12,500 statistic? Is that the cost of all the medical travel and the accommodations? And does it include, I believe if we send someone to birth in Edmonton, Alberta Health Services is going to bill us back for those services. Does it include that number? And if not, what would that be? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Member for Yellowknife North. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't believe that this number includes the cost of service from Alberta Health Services. This is the medical travel cost. But I can find out what the billing would be, or at least a range. You know, some deliveries are very straightforward and others aren't, as we all know. And so that may also impact the amount of money that is spent with Alberta Health Services for their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Oral questions. Member for Yellowknife North.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would appreciate the minister following up with what we expect Alberta to bill us back. I know that they bill us back millions of dollars a year, and I expect that births, even one complicated birth, can get very expensive very quickly. And I guess my point here is that this closure is becoming a $1 million cost to us. I think that's quite clear. We're in that range. And I know it's been reported that the OBS nurses for years have been asking for an additional staff person, and there's some debate about whether that is needed. But I think this has proven that one closure is easily more than the cost of funding that staff position. So my question for the minister is there a political win here where we can fund an additional OBS nurse and hope that this closure never happens again? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member for Yellowknife North. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say I hope this is a one-off, that I never have to stand here and talk about the obstetrics unit being closed again. In terms of adding an additional staff, I don't know where those discussions are at within the hospital. I do know that the number of births at Stanton has been declining over the last 3 or 4 years. I also know that they have a large number of vacancies at this point, so I'm not sure that adding another position is actually going to bring them another body, because we are in the midst of recruiting for those vacancies. So I think that this is a conversation that we need to have. Maybe the value of the fourth position over the long term is that people are more able to take their time off. So it's certainly something I'm interested in. Thank you.
Minister, oral questions. Member for Kamloops.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Understandably, members from this side of the House have been holding the Department of Health and Social Services to task this week in this House, but I just wanted to start off with a thank you. Today, during question period, my 2 youngest children were vaccinated against COVID-19, and I'm incredibly grateful to the Department of Health and Social Services for that. One of my jokesters asked me if this was his Christmas present, and it's probably not his, but it was definitely mine, so thank you very much for that. Mr. Speaker, my questions today are for the Minister of Health and Social Services. It is my understanding that staff surveys are done through the accreditation process for hospitals. What were the outcomes of the 2019 hospital or Stanton accreditation surveys in Yellowknife while they were going through that process? Thank you.
Thank you, member for Kamloops. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm just going to say at the outset, there are quite a large number of surveys that involve the nursing staff. There are these accreditation surveys my colleague just mentioned. I have also mentioned the exit surveys for people who have resigned this year as healthcare professionals, nurses in particular, and that the Nurses Professional Association is doing a survey as well about issues that are leading to people's job dissatisfaction. So to narrow this down to the accreditation survey, there were 2 of them conducted in connection with the accreditation. One is the Canadian Patient Safety Culture Survey, and the other is the Work-Life Pulse Safety Survey, So for the Canadian Patient Safety Survey, the results show that the NTH-SSA reported higher than the Canadian average in 3 of 8 survey dimensions, and 3 dimensions scored within 5% of the Canadian average under the dimensions that the NTH-SSA scored lower than the Canadian average. So this is not easy to understand as I read it out here, but what I think it says is that the Canadian Patient Safety Culture Survey gave us a reasonable rating where we were either above or on par in most areas. The Work-Life Pulse Survey reported higher than Canadian average results in 4 of 7 survey dimensions. Having said that, the lowest score compared to Canadian averages was received for the health and safety of the work environment. So clearly there was a flag in that survey that work needed to be done in that area. Thank you.
Sir, oral questions. Member for Kamloops.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate that information. I think that there are, a lot of discussions of surveys and collecting information. And so my next question for the minister is, what were the outcomes that relate to staff morale and staffing issues at Stanton that came out of the surveys? And were there any changes from the previous surveys or the exit interviews that were done that were able to be implemented at Stanton? Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Cam Lake. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's my understanding that they took the information and made a communications plan to address the areas of weakness that were identified. As a result of that, they have bi-weekly all-staff updates. They have improved the use of internal communication platforms. They have promoted the use of internal feedback tools to receive questions and information from staff. I know there's a sort of a suggestion box function now that people can use anonymously to point out issues and concerns. And it's my understanding that, in fact, these tools are heavily used, and that's been particularly the case during the COVID pandemic period. Thank you.
Minister, oral questions, member for Cam Lake.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for that. It's my understanding that some of the issues that we're hearing about are definitely persistent issues in a lot of our high-stress, shift work type environments within the GNWT. And so I guess I'm wondering what information is management within Stanton expecting to hear from the current nursing survey that is different from the one that they've previously heard, and how is this time going to be different? Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Cam Lake. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't have any information about the results of the surveys now underway, but I will say that they are being conducted almost 3 years later than the surveys I spoke about at the beginning of my answers. And so I think the operating environment has changed because of COVID, and that the results will be different. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of these exit surveys, and we understand that there are ways that we can improve the work life of nurses at Stanton and on the obstetrics unit. We're hearing a lot about at the moment, and somebody has already said this today, and I've said it here as well. It is preferable to retain a nurse than recruit a nurse. It works better for all of us if we have someone who's already here, enjoys working in the North, has a family and life established here, to stay here, rather than feel that the working conditions are such that the preference is to move on, particularly because of the working conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Final supplementary, member for Cam Lake.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm given this Assembly's interest in not only recruiting, but also, as the Minister states, retaining our healthcare workers in the Northwest Territories. I'm wondering if the Minister is willing to commit to sharing the results of that survey and also the responses from the Department of Health and Social Services to address them with this House. Thank you.
Thank you, member for Cam Lake. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you. I understand that there's a health system human resources plan that's being finalized, and my colleague, the Minister responsible for human resources, has spoken about this. And the results of the surveys that I've spoken of will inform actions to improve the recruitment and retention of healthcare staff. I will, in fact, share with the Standing Committee on Social Development the plan when it's complete, and the summaries of the surveys when they're available. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Colleagues, our time for oral questions has expired. Written questions, returns to written questions, replies to Commissioner's address, replies to the Commissioner's address, petitions, reports of committees on the review of bills, reports of standing and special committees, Tabling of documents. Tabling of documents. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following document. Plain language summary for Bill 40, an act to amend the Medical Profession Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Tabling of documents. Tabling of documents. Minister responsible for Environment and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following 3 documents: in Evaluate Water Board Annual Report, April 1, 2020 to March 31st, 2021, the Natural Resources Conservation Trust Fund financial statement for the year ending March 31st, 2021, and NWT 911 Annual Report 2020-2021. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Tabling of documents. Tabling of documents. Minister responsible for Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following 2 documents: Legal Aid Commission of the Northwest Territories Annual Report 2020-2021 and Annual Report of the Activities of the Rental Officer, April 1, 2020 to March 31, 2021. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Tabling of documents. Tabling of documents. Notices of motion. Notices of motion. Motions. Motions. Member for Nanakput.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, second by the Honourable Member Thabacha, that Committee Report 17-19 brackets 2, Standing Committee on Government Operations, report the review of bills of Bill 23, an act to amend the Public Utilities Act. Committee Report 18-19 brackets 2, Standing Committee on Economic Development and Environment, report review of Bill 24, an act to amend the Revolving Funds Act. Committee Report 19 brackets 2, Standing Committee on Economic Development and Environment, report on review of Bill 29, Resource Royalty Information Disclosure Statute Amendment Act, be received by the Assembly and moved into the Committee of the Whole for your consideration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Nanakput. Motion is in order to the motion. Question has been called. All those in favour? All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. These reports will be moved into Committee of the Whole for consideration. Motions. Motions. Notices of motion for the first reading of bills. Notices of motion for the first reading of bills. First reading of bills. First reading of bills. Second reading of bills. Second reading of bills. Minister responsible for Health and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for Range Lake, that Bill 40, an act to amend the Medical Profession Act, be read for the second time. This bill amends the Medical Profession Act to allow a medical practitioner regulated in another province or territory to provide virtual care to patients in the Northwest Territories from a location outside the Northwest Territories. This may happen in the following ways. An out-of-territory practitioner may apply for registration in the Virtual Care Register and be issued a virtual care permit. An out-of-territory practitioner may practice under a limited exception where they have received a referral from the NWT. An out-of-territory practitioner may practice under an agreement between the minister and either the government or the regulatory of their home jurisdiction. The bill makes the associated necessary changes to the Act to facilitate these new methods of practice. The bill also adds a regulation-making authority to authorize the establishment or adoption of standards, practice, code of ethics, continuing competency programs, and scope of practice frameworks and guidelines. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Motion is in order to the principle of the bill. Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe this is a number of things the department is doing to provide further virtual care to our residents. I just want to thank the minister for bringing this forward. During COVID, we made many many steps in this direction, and now there seems to be a bit of a catch-up to change some of the regulations, adopt the software, and really be a leader in this area. So I will gladly support this bill at second reading.
Thank you, Member for Yellowknife North. To the principle of the bill. Question has been called. All those in favour? All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Bill 40 has had second reading and is referred to a committee. Colleagues, before I put you in the committee of the whole, I'd like to wish the member for Thabatcha a happy birthday for tomorrow and invite you all to join me in the Great Hall for a small celebration. Happy birthday. Consideration in Committee of the Whole of Bills and Other Matters, Bill 23, 24, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and 36. Table document 437-19 brackets 2, table document 438-19 brackets 2, table document 439-19 brackets 2, table document 466-19 brackets 2, with member for Nivik Lake signature.
I now call Committee of the Whole to order. What is the wish of committee? Member for Frame Lake.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Committee wishes to consider table document 437-19 brackets 2, capital estimates 2022-2023, and we'd like to consider the Department of Health and Social Services and Municipal and Community Affairs. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does committee agree? Thank you, committee. We will take a short break and then we'll resume with the first item. Thank you. I'll call Committee of the Whole back to order. Committee, we've agreed to consider table document 437-19-2, capital estimates 2022-2023. Committee, we will now consider the Department of Health and Social Services. Does the Minister of Health and Social Services wish to bring witnesses into the chamber?
Yes, please.
Sergeant at Arms, please escort the witnesses into the chamber. Would the minister please introduce her witnesses?
Yep. On my left is Derek Elkin, the Assistant Deputy Minister for Corporate Services. And on my right is Perry Heath, the Director of Infrastructure and Planning.
Thank you. Welcome. The committee has agreed to forego general comments. Has the committee agreed to proceed to the detail contained in the document? Committee, the Department of Health and Social Services begins on page 33. We'll defer the departmental totals and review the estimates by activity summary, beginning on page 34 with administrative and support services, information items on page 35. Questions? Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking at about $3.5 million of various medical software. I really have no concern with what's presented here. My question is, it was my understanding that we were looking to replace our electronic medical record system, and I believe that was quite a costly endeavor, and I don't see that here. Can the minister just give an update as to what is going on with that process? Thank you.
Thank you, Member. Minister of Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The member is correct. The current electronic medical record system has an end date, and it is necessary to replace it. And I believe that Mr. Elkin has been participating in that process and could give you an update.
Thank you. Mr. Elkin.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've been given notice by TELUS, who is the current provider of the EMR, that it will be sunset at the end of 2023. So we are currently doing the planning phase to what that would look like. They also indicated that they would support it beyond 2023, so we have a little extra time to plan on it. It's an opportunity to actually look at our current EMR and our other systems to maybe there's an opportunity to see what else we can roll into another solution. So we have a project team underway that's currently looking at it. Thanks.
Thank you. Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm glad. I know there's a kind of a couple different systems operating and they don't always speak to each other the best, so I think this is a good opportunity, although probably a very, very expensive one, to look at all of our systems. As part of that project team looking at this, is it on their agenda a patient online portal? I think this is, COVID has really pushed this to the forefront. In many jurisdictions, you can log in and you can just see all of your vaccination statuses. You can see outstanding lab tests. And if we had something like that during COVID, it probably would have saved us a lot of headache in creating the vaccine passports and that data entry. Do we expect, or is it one of the priorities of buying a new EMR system that would be a function? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Minister of Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, indeed, it is a priority of a new system. It's not possible with our current system, and so it would be a great upgrade to be able to offer people direct access to their own records.
Thank you. Member for Yellowknife North.
I'm gonna sneak in one more that may be pushing the limits here. I know we have a number of software operating, but we still tend to fax records. This has caused a lot of problems. Are we going to end faxing? Do we anticipate any of the software we're buying or planning to buy will end that practice? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Personally, I would like to recycle every fax machine in the NWT. But that may not be what the department has in mind, so I'll look again to Mr. Elkin to ask him about that.
Thank you, Mr. Elkin.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're currently over the last year doing a inventory of where all faxes are used, because our ultimate goal is, yes, to move away from faxes, but however, it's a matter of understanding how faxes are used and where we interact, particularly with the private sector, to make sure that we don't disrupt the patient care in doing that. So yeah, we are doing an inventory to understand how, when they're used, and how transition plan to move away from faxes.
Thank you, Mr. Elkin. Are there any further comments under the administrative and supportive service section? Member for Hay River South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just looking at the Medifarm replacement, and I guess I don't know too much about that, so I'd just like an explanation of exactly what that is, and does that tie into, say, pharmacies as well, private organizations like that? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister of Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you. I'd again like to direct this question to Mr. Elkin.
Thank you, Mr. Elkin.
Thank you. So Medifarm is the in-hospital pharmacy system was used in Stanton, Hay River, and Inuvik. It was aged out and no longer supported. So when Stanton came on, we moved to a new system called BDM, and then the eventual plan was to move Hay River and Inuvik on as well. So Stanton's been completed, Inuvik's been completed last July, and Hay River is scheduled for next year. And that's really within the hospital itself. I actually, to answer your question, I don't know if it connects with the private pharmacies, but it's really around pharmacy management and distribution within the hospital and inventory control to better make use of the staff time and for be more efficient of mapping pharmaceutical use in the hospital.
Thank you. Member for Hay River South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if somebody in Stanton wants information from Hay River or Inuvik, they can pick up that information. That information in those other two communities would be available to them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Please address the question to Mr. Elkin.
Mr. Elkin.
At this point, I don't know what the interoperability be between the three sites. I assume since they're on the same system, that's one of the ultimate goals, but right now they won't be communicating at this point, but I think that's the ultimate goal, to be on the same system, but we'd have to confirm that.
Thank you, Mr. Elkin. Member for Hay River South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Are there any further questions on administrative and support services? Seeing none. Health and Social Services, Administrative and Support Services, Infrastructure Investment, $3,641,000. Does committee agree? Committee, please turn to page 36. Health and Social Services, Health and Social Programs, with information on page 37. Questions? Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see there's the continued funding for the Wellness and Recovery Center in Yellowknife. This has been in the capital budget a couple years now, but can I just get an update on that project and when we expect construction to start? Thank you.
Thank you. Minister of Health and Social Services.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'll start and then I'll turn to Perry Heath to fill in some of the details. So a design firm has been contracted to provide a design for the facility, and I think they're moving towards having a draft available to share with the department and the people who are going to be most intimately involved in the Wellness and Recovery Center. The schedule now is for the RFP for construction to go out next year, and I think that the center itself won't be ready until the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024. But if I don't have those right, Mr. Heath will correct me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Heath?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Minister is correct. We're targeting the end of 2023, early 2024 for operationalization of the facility. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member for Hay River North? Yellowknife North?
Not planning to move to Hay River anytime soon, Madam Chair. I know there's endless debates about day shelters. Can I just get clarification that the site has been selected, the one beside, I'm going to call it beside St. John Ambulance across from True Value? Is that the site that has been selected? Is that a finalized decision? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Minister?
I haven't heard that it's finalized, but we're going to have to finalize it soon if we haven't already, because we have to apply for a permit to the city. So we can't do that on the basis without having a firm location. I'll ask Mr. Heath to confirm where we're at with the site selection.
Thank you. Mr. Heath?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is our intention to submit a development permit application in the upcoming months for the site that the member referenced. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member for Yellowknife North?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I want to ask, can the Minister speak to work being done to make that process easier? I am afraid that we are likely to lose this vote with the current council, given their track record, and perhaps there's a way to pull some votes. I just would welcome the political insights that's happening to make sure that that application development permit is a little smoother. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister?
Yeah, thank you. There is a plan to engage people and businesses and residents who live in proximity to the site of the new Wellness and Recovery Centre. We are not under the same kind of time crunch we were with the day shelter. We have time to go through the process and to go through an appeal process if necessary. I can't predict what council's going to do with that. I mean, obviously, we will present all the information we have about the centre and what it's for and who will use it. And we'll just have to wait and see what council makes of all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Member?
Lastly, Madam Chair, I know we have either purchased or rented, or we're using the Cleacho all-season construction as a temporary day shelter, which my understanding is intended to run until this one is complete. Can I just get clarification whether that money is found in the capital budget or the O&M budget, or whether that's coming forward through a SUP? Thank you.
Thank you. Minister?
Yeah, thank you. I actually haven't heard which budget this is coming out of, so I will ask Mr. Heath for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Heath?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in anticipation that we were going to have to provide a temporary facility, we actually made a scope change to the Wellness and Recovery Centre and reduced the budget by a small amount, enough to cover the costs of the temporary wellness centre. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member for Hay River North, or Yellowknife North?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I noticed there was 2 body holding rooms here. Can I just get a bit of an explanation of why we're building body holding rooms? Are they required in all communities now? Is there some sort of standard that's kind of spurring us? I just would like a little bit of clarification there. Thank you.
He thought that's a body holding room.
Minister?
Yeah, thank you. Body holding room.
Body holding room, see, 2020. A morgue, Tanzania la Kwanzaa 2012. the refrigeration room will la. You had the Hontanhul lady, but Sanka Niha. I can't the Patsanka need but Tansanin Tunto, no, not Tunto, had they see the healthcare center see. You had the morgue that they have that in la. A service that our community see, put in Kulete. Yet the net nil inle. Marcy, a biomedical evergreen sea. X-ray machine, ventilators, had they see anesthesia machine, had they halada. It done about do had they see. It that you comfort in say. It had to John healthy that equipment see a lot evergreen a year a day. It a hiring last seat the kid that do got new or shingle. Yeah, young and hiring lots and without that. Then a qual had they see. A health cabin told had they see. A breakdown rate ain't it? That's a region rate, yeah. Evergreen sea. Department how you let will. Body holding room see. Can you don't hold it? Hiring lot Kusa Hall Ero. Denal TC. Sinlo. Body holding room see. Health center so had it up at say. A body holding room don't there. You thought the Delano had it Ford McPherson's and Mr. Heath Orleans, huh? Mercy, Madam Chair. 10 the phone not Yunson. Had they see. A health center seat had they see. Down the zone see. A 10-year plan la did. The body holding see. The Clavic, Fort Liard, Tuck, Delaney. A Polituck do the high Arctic sea. A don't Tumbik Rally thought of this high Chelsea. I dar tisi da. I da ni da te tisan hat I nul yesi. I da mercy. I da delin $600,000 on the day ta. Here we're south. A YK North Sea da. A day shelter sea hadu. A da shelter so it is sea RT. A da hiring on a chill sea. A da sunil inli hadu da. A high halt to it lads and hadu da temporary curl had that sea. A da department sea hadu. A net in there. I da day shelter yell knife the hadu the honest and the sea honeys and that. I da O&M expense that I da service providers but don't la see ha. I day shelters don't la see. I da night shelters ha do ke galena. I benurstet da I da do facilities da be ke galata see. I da do da conversation. I da priorities. Long-term care units who had to see the on-store order. The plan B the only low had to see. In the cinch, the liquid.
Relates to the capital.
Dëne Süüłıné Health and Social Services Programs, Infrastructure Investments, $7,434,000. A committee babasatelo. Health and Social Service, thought and got DC to care, page 38, 39. Then your career, Grace Laveton. Minister Department, I had to stand in a legacy. Thanks upon it, do you not the hit or do you budget ya? Could you stand in a yalta? Don't be make your con. I hope not really rappel. Had only the legacy project see do you had to be weeklies or the thought and the cat dear. You could tend to Huland the Hadile. Do you not budget somebody lassie? Had to do not the Raya Hansen. Do we begin easy to Basina Yeha? Nato young coin Lenny. Could we somebody Chasi or that or see that we need see? I heard at the car hitelo, I had the atolo. See that or keep in new to you see that somebody that obetati, see hot obetati on. Had we a hands up on it. The information was crazy in this satellite. The notification about punish to that satellite. Could you at Osia, that open with you, at on the little? Could you Evans building city kitchen to laundry to Bonot as in 2023? That way, Baba Sampa Hansa Kaha. Do you hope that there are Kelo that was see about Tassi? I saw some back at Tanat Argo to the project see to honest back Dizzy Evans. Could do you but see Dizzy laundry or you got Chilo, you brought it, you Senol Yeha. Could I saw see. I thought that was some person let's say because Shanila. You'll never know. Could do a committee seat to you here. See big a galtao. Could do 136 eke helalo. Could do lucky that I had a bacatiha. I own MC Bagasan, you said the operation maintenance. The information has like Mr. Elkin, you go down for the TC. Queen Minister had the lazy 2324. I let my KSC Bagatasi. Kui I eat my Kiasi. I need to see to a Eke law. Did that what the Atal now? Could you if it's also done a chassis? Do you have a secret DC how? Could you need to do 74 Eke Lassie? 219,000 coup. Coup and you in the Chile 349,000 without Ekeha per bed. During this in how do you have to know the million ancien ha? Do you kind of this how? Could you nuclear a jar do deficit? Do we need to know do we about our little how do we eke helasi? Yaki Hassan are pretty losing. Could you with us sitting on a TC how do we legacy project? You get class in OML but I see a galata ekeo. Could you have you any kind of corn galata your coins the Timberlake or Talanaha? Are you cleaning somebody you that is a color to you net Aussie but not here also? Do we eke helasi? Are you getting to some couldn't the mechanic high? Did I don't I saw it see though. Could you with heart and I got DC quota lossy? Are you really had a look? Are you capital O and MO? Are you get chosen? I see. Could you it's on a yasi sambaka fisi hatchin no le million hunting casti cool the gershon. It's hot and it got DCO. Could you thought and it got DC eke lasi to a nani papa her ni low nani a yadalian city. Could you eke bagan or dasi? we are birds and you know not hat is at the low. I had what's in need to need that bagadi tazi. The international needs tube the city had a thought in the cat ha on your easy. I had nurse who but a lot to be staffed in the bottle and naha. I ekeb about the curl the thought in the cat either. The nani a dirt ella had a bapticity hollow. Had away. Do we become a car at all? Do we see heat to the territorial? Do you have to be a diversity? You had all Bakat DC to any corner not DC. Had to be mechanic car at all to be such or see how to be thought to get DC echo. Could you thought in the cat DC? Kushi sits in region with notes there. We're onions and herring laws and we're gonna there. Such a last one and need to be sure. Nani batalan zonile hat over contract at tele hat over passiu lila benen kaya. Could you home cares nizi on the Becati si baba but as a deal the corner tesi becatortea. Quay on the Becoins not teha, but as a deal. Quay then weeklies are out at naha. A home care heat seen it and got DC take care of each other. Had that there is services route in the Basala out the hat or are you on the but as a teha? Quay bench as a dealer in a Becoins not there hat what's in habits as a deal to return weekly. You say anyhow. I could you will yaki hit easy to thought and the cat easy. Do we know how that on cheese a coins not this a scene they do not yet? Do we didn't let hello the home community repair? Are you yaki hukuro? Do you that programs that on it easy ha? Did I sorry ha? Could you set zero all the tazi? I jihad or jihad all tazi, long honey on the Sudani on the hat or a basin such a bond on it. I benela Becoins not there either to we had to home care health thought they got DC long term. Could not hard to in your heart but you hurrying out and dirt is it or he's not there. I had already the key had to be a could you thought a curie the key door thought they got either. I some parts a bit and called there. Do you then I got DC home care on the need to know. I be coins in Batiha. Hat owners on his silla. Hat I do a becali dollar. Could you thought in the cat DC facility? You were hack or show. Do you do not get the eke hella and let? I got on jalo, do not in the eke jar. Could you have long but not ye tilo? Do you boss in it? Net in do you know not in the eke la the zone call? I saw eke had any car code, do not get the eke. Eke. Could you long term honey St. Lily had all in the Silla? Dwi bet ar di dat o yaki tisi bet dwi hak or check aten puni derlo dwi saten e kat tisi ha. Dwi nuna zenti este lasi. Ai kar jahan di member. Ai lang man one ai bagan right lo dwi. Ku you ne ha you ne de dwi ikke hurt in ikke hurt in e. Ai sa kon bagan right do li la dwi saten e kat tisi long term. Du har jo yakin og ja se masse nitte no. Du har to sinil insi. Du er noen den de ikke heller se i tenkte ikke hatt det eneste det. Kui bare ta se masse nitte det. Kui du vet at oni insi jo nede projections. Du ikke jo tenkte ikke hørt jo. Could you go on Josie? I eat all in city. Could you home support care have had what's in her? Could you not see the work arrested you eke? Could you wait a child? Eke, yeah. Had a new nether, yes, one eke hurt you. Where to by Charles and where or shit at the low. I had to do thought and got DC to recall say how it went to by Charles. I wanted the Queen's night till you had to your hand on night DC. Cool thought you has seen on the international theory assessment tool. I been with you at Atlanta, Sabakati Harit, you know. Had a sabotage in the other 90 SK reach in see. You net her honor. How close change or no? Could you unite in our kingdoms when you fabricate deal? Are you home cannot this be coins be cat dear? Then the harbor coins not there to it at party there. Could John see his in-laws and Sassy 2020, 24, 2025? I some bagar hit low. Could you HH are you William Hospital? You're not yet here. Are you Mr. He was cur? Are you Tato Bagalatazi? Could you HH William building? Are you not yardilla? Hot or you kiss all the how ye ha? Are you beneath your house? Could you Tata Thursday healthy Kelazoni? Tato Bagalatazi. Are you be great on it? The but about a birthday. Could has yours easy. Could you call her share city near Ozzy? A quantity nolio. Could you connect her all? Are you but permission? Are you see cut the higher qua out? See is a laha. Could you know you're at the Concord has had out? In the we know you had a commercial building at a corner you had a Yakihal had a ha. Kunne jeg ikke lige så lade farten? Kunne vi det vi har sikre de sig du med krofazo og krigsgrat de her. Kunne vi sampa la og du sang og I har jo krigsnet I har du teamene og I all jeg siger her. Nej betyder ko nej bekrigslige ko altså nej så krono ko begrat de her. Hatta det vi krigsgrat de her og I burn de lette saten. Hat ooit dat in een kroon aan je hak rustje. En je toen betekent in hadden.
Merci, Madam Chair. You da tlaneku da kisala files we got nisi. You betau ni lala de kuli. You da government seat da you da tu da kisala si da tunil deo. You don't have to kuli unne Thagai tho you da selna twilo. You da you can't see the arsenal there toilet day night shelter to hold there toilet you da had a click on it in you da pile see that you da heat storage so the you da see cans what it you da health center card to need that Mercy. You remember that Tigor Shade. You the commissioner's building have that in toilet. You can't on the Gorshalo fully. You had to be connected to the Sinza Hula, the Health and Social Service Authority. You had to quit it out on real curha, darn queue. You had to call Yilas and Begani has sea can to had to see. You the record seat, Hela seat, too. The Hay River Seat, the Health Authority, Helio Q. The discussion paper, Bicala Dino had to see. There's Q. You had to see Quantel had to see her. Health Center see her. And a notebook. You thought on Hassan High Haldo. The long term care service that the Palestine home support on law. The home care center no Patala and Martial Sim. You don't know Pale Dasi Martial. The Antnet Halali now. You had to clear the Ulu Hak to cut their sea. The minister see the private company Halatu done. The agreement of the Salet I see not Kerayat. The terms there to begin. You see elders the Ulu Hak took Polituk Sachs Harbor. And Rubik so telling that. He did you. He the medical design. Ita stapil choy Ita design them leda. Ita community corporation sita bahalgalataha. Ita committee affair ta. Ita leadership o hete sita ya thagalainaha. Ita minister si. I no halagalanaha. I long-term uluhak takati long-term facility nuntaha. What's the Madam Chair? Any member see? Ita July ke Kuznaitelo. Ita Sachs Harbor. I antnel halja to. I hiring lot azu hitel halja det. Ita no. Ita support to hatu behal halbetseti. The home care of Paulatau. Ita dinalti da quanta dinalti. Ita long-term care lo. Ita last spring si. Ashantona gainta. Ita Minister of Housing si Port Good Hope night dado. The NWT Housing Corporation project ha on ye. Galata. Ita seniors housing. Thonta not de halde. A recreation area. A hati hatu hiring law na chila hatu ye tagalena leha. 24-bed dinal tilo. Ita hatu chan. Yuti berries un little. Shower un little. Ita ahten betseti si hatu pa yun sulyao. Ita hiring la si datu nunsteha. Ita Housing Corporation bahaljas tietula. Ita tu sulyalo. Ita tu high Arctic hiring la natsatesi ta bakwana teril insi. Ita betsat bahalat in hal hatu nateo nunsteha. Ita hata halden rilza. Mercy, Mr. 6 and 6 kalden. Ita Dëne Sųłıné Yatıé. Ita antne dete si betsetiha. Ita antne si di to no powder ade antne. Ita hata bekwanate ye kuze lunthir. Ita Minister Mercy Elusion. Ita Housing Minister Rutanse Mercy. Ita question si. Ita at least long-term care da. Ita post-COVID tata was da. Ita Minister si. Ita home care do. Ita antne si betsetiu hade si ha. Ita family snore hatu galatau hade si. Ita long-term care facilities hatu galatau si. Ita non-atan the kit are not there really enda. Ita families betsetiu hade si. Ita multi-generational housing hade galatau si. Ita nanakpak city the betsetiu hade si ha. Come on. Ita tatua begalata. the Health and Social Service, the Housing Corporation, Halgalana, the infrastructure. The Hatu Bekaleta or Shenla. The Nuts a roll see. The quantity, the home care base, the already in see the Hatu pa no stale had to be quantity, the see. The con plant hole, the Alta. You had to let that little. You mean as to was Banat Tiasida. The home care policy, see her. The quantity had to see her. The housing question, see. Health and Social Service. The housing care, I know, the alternate annual there. The Dilo, $5 million contribution. The do constructions, the laundry, the kitchen, do nunta. You had to attend the city. You see the housing project on Dëne Sųłıné Yatıé. You don't need to, but I see the housing do no ase. You don't see the city. The no stay here. The support workers don't live at AC. Mercy. The long-term care facility, see the. You know it's early that. You can charge Wikwiti, Kani nurse, but Altiha, etc. You don't want that. The long-term care program, see. The Miss Green, Kani Anelti. The Wikwiti, Dalze. The long-term care program, see, Wikwiti, the Dinalti, healthcare facility, the URL Eda. You live in quarters, nursed by another government yet and Hatua'a. The healthcare center, see. The office-based Allah, see. The community government, see, Wikwiti had to the building ha'a there. The public area there. You had to be connect there. The elders who had to see the hiring law seat. You don't do nursing either. You hold net with new health center. 20-year plan as I let John. John's in the Kuli. Work with teeth on the Sigor Yasa. Mr. Heath. I work with TC. Hiring on a charter. A population 250 people. You don't see it all from Quasa charter like Quanazo. You don't need a lot guides and had a whole nehele. Population 250 is on. Mr. Heath. In and around it at 250 to cent. Member for Montpui. Ayi Boston Sita. Ayi the penalty. Facility dollar that night. Wigwiti. Ayi the church aya sausage ansade. Ayi the hatu beti. Don't hatu the beti on. Ayi kanu to nurse bits and that. Ayi the pay near that do nurse ansi. Either two programs to service dollar siha. Either healthcare system do be. Either health center you're there kick another hiring lot but a lot in there. Either local trainings. Either but a lot but a zone. Either capital plan el jointed as one. It was ne so lot guys and her less near. Either plan el yalila de. It old not the stats alliance sit. You get the nurse nila. Either do plans a la see the either do net the updated in see. Mr. Heath Whisker. You no need had it viewer stats I said. You the kid or that data and cost version 20-year need assessment had to nil. A BSA report had to be calculated. It a priority to do capital plan ala see. It needs assessment see positive. It has a lot guys and had to you had that in nil nether. It update will also. Health and social service infrastructure. Capital estimate $49,613,000. Does the committee agree? Consideration Department of Health is now complete.
Committee, we will now consider the Department of Municipal and Community Affairs. Does the Minister of Municipal and Community Affairs wish to bring witnesses into the chamber? Men-at-Arms, please escort the witness into the chamber. Minister, please introduce your witness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On my right is Deputy Minister Aurora Grew. Thank you.
Sorry, what was her last name?
Want me to do it again? Deputy Minister Laura Grew.
Welcome. The committee has agreed to forego general comments. Is the committee agreed to proceed to the detailed in the table document?
The table documents see note in how it. Municipal Community 64. Deferred totals by activity. 65 regional operation. 66. Yellowknife North. Flow community shall enter the Sampa. And the South Guy held in. You get $2.5 million per annum and out of municipal funding gap, the unique capital budget. Don't work in that. Capital gap sit all la sit the. Municipal funding gap see. 29 million polio. Formula see. Numbers thought that. Drapple yell. NWTHC to the gap see. Nil yon. Don't be a Yellowknife North. Yeah, soon to be a had it a formula C to be a new number nuta. Thought a gap holia. You mandate nuta $5 million. To progress on see the operation side see. The environmental side of it. The funding gap dollar see the two formula galata see. The two see. Minister, Deputy Minister. Madam Chair. The funding gap see. $20 million the funding gaps. Madam Chair, mercy. The portions that do gaps all lawsuit, hiring lawsuit of infrastructure money, the formula potential on what they see. The needs what they see, the night to Santo what they see. The night truck and water what they see. The to be galata. The NWTHC the formula C. Jesus Christ. The greasy chemical change so the NWTHC the halgalita C. The extent to the galata. You ministers here. Is a dude point of conflicts here. You to do federal money. Hello. Hey. Said I'm still working. I did it all shitty. Okay. You to do Canada gay out that do jump at municipality see that the fiscal aid infrastructure aid family
Thank you, member.
Could you deal goals in there? Where Harry Ladan cheese the last don't see Harry Teddy. That was it on easy. Could see that was really not lady at the department. Do we see the kid or the scene on he had the send to be pool there? You see be able to call a song care corny who see had. Do you have long houses that yet are in the scene? Could you machine call her fellow? Do you wear having last year you baha on yard? Do that all a sea hit me that all la hasi harry in sea? Then you harbor knee hits it. Hot oil to is not the lady but can not care a lot that we are kidding on it. I benish near the hiring lie in Haryaki hits it. Hot oil I be ya see cowley let there. I think at the road, I think all the road. Could gentle be tea, I how you see who see the head near I brought the hot oil. Hot oil the policy on a cha on Begarata. The Hayu hiring la quanta last you got na ha. I that or sit out in seeking is open to Tililo. I seen a child like Charlie. The hiring laws don't choose a gentle be tea, but not I minister had the Saturday and all the infrastructure sit at in release. $1 billion couldn't release a card. John territorial problems to I let over Galata, nothing. I that this Albany scene that I having last seat already easy Katoya. I didn't hurry a key hits you had a sweet dear, but Suzuki allo. Could you thought is how near are this the detail? I tell you near our 100 Kana all. Look at see her nearly. Do we miss a palace behel a gully doll? The young North Bagal Nagrashal, she were having on a cheese of Bagalas now. I eat already in sea hustled pool co, arena co, concho co, shoes laguna co. Had at your having la bell a gully dollar. I eat no lala. I don't easy hali deadly. Had that remembered as an easy Albany sinler. I miss a palace doll last bill a gully dollar. I ate on a bottom last year on a char histio. I built a little hatori labeka. Could do it with easy infrastructure. I danced in with easy. I saw seen up her nearly had to in the detail. Had the NWTAC beheld the Housing Corporation nearly tell a hat or. That or Benishner saw the job bullet check easy. What her that's curious. Could we pull call her leader a bird ya? Do we formula you see do I don't know ye out? Do we per capita or because you go? Ay tahal din siya ko. Ay Deputy Minister ay yagasat ya. Ay MLA si etatele saten. Could you kind of don't cheesy government out ICC? Do you see but all the thought? Could you pull call the cohen? You know, do you because do you have your hand that don't cheesy to infrastructure sana? I see a lot. I see do we see on them and you see a lot. Hatta do we sample all do but sample hell lot do we tiny to look good and on true but I see a lot. Do we actually yes you hatta do sample history do we capital do we not own them but all see some but I said do we policy or hatta do have only and do policies. Are you banana canoe already? A season or year or see it or year quarter. Could we see the do we not kill a million ounces a hit in Lotilo, the 100 Latin Chile, some part I could we some part baronet unless it in Macatson? Are you like some part of what you 100 Latin Chile, bonically a lot? Do we at least Sweden a call, but could the Maca law has here as it? Do you 100 like a? How you really like a? Are you 100 like it? But I said that. Could you see but all does it? Do we see the queue? Could you own them see anything in the header? Do but I see all does he not in her? Could you formula Henry see to some baronet all? Could the capital budget see 29 million but you know John at least get I baronet I let you not get could get 28 million later. Do you see it to not easy to do it anything but easy to high on or do we own them but but in it to but see but all the I seen it easy I see I key see the community government said I hit all now. I heard I see it to nil end I see fuel call part on you call could you return weekly there to the queue thank you some back Alicia the could the highway last year to be yaki silo the infrastructure history ha could we some back at that or the cable or key city data on Inders and are you hiring last year that or you hell I see some back at that on there. Could the government do it at all now you know do that or some people at least hiring law some part not you some part hill could you clearly get on the other tax could the federal government I mean yeah the programs hello I had to the capital plans the birth in the somebody panic the federal government we're hiring like don't shoot it in the hayumbe easy birth yeah the could the Mac atala nasi a hiring the government hell atala nasi that or yaki history it's in yeah could you hire or are you communications beheldig to you are you that or yaki history beheldig and all errata see her are you shit my kisi hani or see her share are you bet it you reach out are you out about all that see it is it the city to kisi are you hiring that the government see are you shouting so it's in a hotel dollar أخير حتى أخير يستيو حتى تري سيكر ياس حتى بنيكليزو technical تين داتو يكي هيستيري إنسي حتى يها يتأني ها تيسيتي تكيسي ها يونيتا أسي أي دايريني ها داتو سامباك أزيو أي كاتين تكايا سامبا بيت أنا هارين داتان شيرزي capital projects وحتى ها community governments they had to sample they had a lot of federal governments and sample had a lot of you community governments couldn't I see but is it ha I in zone la lo doesn't easy I tato ya tisi I sunini masini sella had a sample the kaya had a lot of you had a sinila kui sa sasi na kina te lo tiwa hayu la si sample haba na tre you to the corny hundred dollar housing I hired not there see I had to see how recur on the sample federal government and sample the Hayun departments have lost GNWTO or Banayatio. Could you sample have lost the housing sample? I had to remark how the sample you get an art also no. I heard that on Tuesday last year. I be held auditor department. Hundred held now. Could you be federal sample in there? Hat oye te haru la si pe helagli ta ritsa that on zo halisi ha that o si ke gale na ne insi could you project ne ina ina teze bagala ta hala I hat oni you hat der staff notes er hat o sa atale now I si ke gatale na ha hat der andersen lo du ha yum be haye ha could federal government could then do in upon we on the programs hat ha I had o ye hele tio I that o ba ta si how that all selio I desi how hat oye tu harin da behla gatali tala masi ai mande chen ha nit a de na ba ha an la to Motion niet on progress ha. Ayun na basat motion is carried.
Report of Committee of the Whole. May I please have the report, member for Nivik Twin Lakes?
Mr. Speaker, your committee has been considering table document 437-19-2 and would like to report progress. And Mr. Speaker, I move that the report of the Committee of the Whole be concurred with. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Nivik Twin Lakes, do we have a seconder? Member for Satu. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion is carried. Third reading of bills. Third reading of bills. Madam Clerk, orders of the day.
Indaidze edani segedi ha wek eati. Edaidze ke, edzoni ake lemi nano datso isle ho hote. Hayat eti awode hayati.
Members' statement. Return to oral questions. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. 6. Acknowledgement. 7. Oral question. 8. Written questions. 9. Return to written questions. 10. Replies to Commissioner address. 11. Petitions. 12. Report of committees on the review of bills. 13. Reports of standing and special committee. 14. Tabling of documents. 15. Notice of motion. 16. Motion. 17. Notice of motion for first reading of bills. 18. First reading of bills. 19. Second reading of bills. 20. Consideration of committee of the whole of bills and other matters. Bill 23. Bill 32, Bill 33, Bill 36, Table documents 437-19 brackets 2. Table document 438-19 brackets 2. Table document 439-19 brackets 2. Table document 466-19 brackets 2. 21, report of committee of the whole. 22, third reading of bills. 23, orders of the day.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This House stands adjourned until Monday, November 29th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m.